Yeah, I mean, if you had sunlight coming in your bathroom, like, and sun was hitting this, I would be a little concerned, you know, about those areas, because that sunlight would definitely zap it. But again, I mean, I've never really had a time, especially with the WA, where I was like behind on it. So I think you really have to, like, you have to be taking a phone call right now, taking lunch, and then then coming back, and that can really screw you up. But you really shouldn't have problems. We're going to test it along the way after we get everything grouted. So this would be the strongest grout that you could have for these miters. This is definitely a good grout for that, the epoxy, because that's kind of like you know, that's one thing about this epoxy. You could set tile with this if you wanted to. So if you had like a mosaic floor that was really thin, and you were like, penny tile is a great example. Penny tile is terrible if you get thinset coming through the joints, because they're really tough to scrape out any of the thinset. So this is a great option. You can buy a bucket of this and then set the penny tile, and then if anything oozes up between the penny tile, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be the same color as the actual grout. So that's what I normally do on penny tile. I'll buy, you know, it's expensive. Don't get me wrong, it's expensive. You're spending, you know, if you were to do just the shower floor, you're probably buying a whole nother bucket just to set the tile. You know, it's, you know, if you ever tried to clean out all that thinset or couldn't do it, it's worth $150. But the other thing about the epoxy is, since it is an adhesive, it's going to make whatever floor you or any tile that you actually set is going to be just like one uniform piece of tile. It's all going to be completely adhered together. So it kind of strengthens the entire tiling installation to a certain point. And they do recommend epoxy for if you were doing smaller tile on a shower floor. It is a good idea, because that, you know, since this is going to all adhere together, it'll make the you know, it'll be harder for the pinpoint of, you know, say if you put a ladder in here, it's not going to compress that tile as easily because everything's bonded together. So, you know, wheelchair accessibility or any type of disability access with a chair or whatever, go with epoxy. You know, that's going to be the best for your shower floors and everything. I gotta get new gloves. Okay, so recessed niches. Again, this epoxy, absolutely tremendous for these outside miter corners. Definitely going to adhere things together. As far as the corners go, though, and the shorter corners of your shower, this is one area that I kind of bend the rules of what is recommended. I always just grout my corners in the niche because I want them to be as clean looking as possible. I'm not saying that you can't do that with a caulking. To me, I end up not getting as clean of a look. So I always grout these, and with epoxy, I mean, I seriously have never had an issue with that cracking. You know, you're not supposed to put them in the differences in planes. So, you know, anywhere there's a corner, you're supposed to be caulking it. But this epoxy is so strong, and it has a flexibility to it. I've personally just have never had an issue with it cracking. Not to say that it can't happen. So, you know, I guess my point is follow manufacturer recommendations. You know, the TCNA has some, you know, really pointed information on how to go about things. But, you know, sometimes to have a nice clean look, I like to bend the rules there a little bit and just make sure it looks good. And if it ever did crack, okay, then I'll go ahead and caulk it then. But just know that anything you caulk is always going to be a maintenance area. Caulking is not going to last, and you're going to have to re-caulk it. But I am going to caulk the actual corners of the shower. That's, you know, I have had issues in the past where that's happened. I've never had it in a niche or in a small area, even against the ceiling. And I'll probably end up caulking that as well. But the niche, I just really want it to be nice and clean looking. I don't want to have to, because all those grouts, all those caulkings, they never match 100%. I mean, they're close, but when you're looking at a niche, I just like it to be really nice and clean looking. So the hardest part about epoxy is actually setting the grout, because it's such a thick consistency compared to any traditional grout. Traditional grout, you're basically able to glide right over all this stuff, but this stuff is really sticky, so it just takes more elbow grease to get it into the joints. The cleanup is actually the easy part. So again, rest assured, all this stuff will come off. All right, that's it.